The HOA queen next door decided my driveway was her throne. She parked her shiny Tesla across my concrete, declared temporary presidential parking rights, and left like nothing happened. I saw it through the blinds. A gleaming white Tesla Model Y easing itself half onto my curb, half across my concrete driveway like it owned the place. The flash of chrome, the smug angle, and the license plate frame reading "Zero emissions, zero excuses." The car belonged to Karen, my next-door neighbor and self-proclaimed acting president of our HOA. She had moved in 8 months prior, bringing with her a cloud of self-importance and an endless supply of sticky notes left on people's doors. "Your trash can angle disrupts community symmetry," or "Please repaint your mailbox to HOA neutral taupe." That morning, though, her audacity evolved. She wasn't just enforcing her imaginary rules. She was blocking my only way out, and I had a meeting across town in 45 minutes. I slipped on my shoes and walked outside. The air smelled like dew and defiance. Standing by her Tesla, coffee cup in one hand and phone in the other, was Karen. She didn't even glance at me until I cleared my throat. "Morning. Mind moving your car?" "You're blocking my driveway," she sipped, not even looking up at me. "Oh, you're fine. I'll only be a few minutes." I didn't want to park on the main street. Too many tree sap drips. HOA still hasn't had those trimmed properly. I looked from her car to my watch to her perfectly smug smile. A few minutes in Karen time meant anywhere from 15 to the full lifespan of a mayfly colony. "I really need to leave now," I said, trying to keep the frustration from cracking my voice. "I'm the HOA president," she snapped. "I have temporary parking exemption privileges when performing HOA-related duties. You should read your bylaws." "Ah, yes. The famous rules don't apply to me defense. Stick around and subscribe. This driveway drama's about to turn legally delicious." That line. The one every HOA tyrant uses right before chaos descends. So I took a slow breath and said something that would change everything. "Sure. Karen, you park there as long as you think you can." Because what she didn't know was that my brother, Jake, ran the largest towing company in the county. I left quietly, circling out through the side yard of my wife's car, which we'd parked around the block. From my rear view, I could see her Tesla gleaming smugly at the end of my driveway, like a parked monument to entitlement. I wasn't angry yet. Not really. That would come later. By afternoon, she was still there. Car unmoved, smug attitude undisturbed. I walked out with a smile and snapped a few discreet photos from different angles. License plate, tires clearly overlapping my boundary line, timestamps. She saw me and called out, "Don't even think about filing a complaint, Chris. HOA rules prohibit harassment photography." Harassment photography? What, like photons now count as threats? I didn't respond. I just smiled, walked back inside, and called Jake. "Hey, remember that favor you owe me from when I helped you move all those tires in July?" He laughed. "Sure do." "What's up?" "Got a Tesla blocking my driveway. Belongs to a woman who thinks she's queen of the HOA. You busy this afternoon?" Jake was silent for a beat. Then, the single most satisfying word in the English language, "Perfect." He explained that as long as the car wasn't on a public road, but blocking private property access, towing was legally permissible, provided I could show clear boundary proof. Fortunately, I'd installed a discreet driveway camera 2 years ago after a delivery truck broke one of my bricks. By evening, I had a plan, a pile of evidence, and a grin even I couldn't suppress. At 9:15 p.m., I heard the unmistakable growl of Jake's tow truck pulling quietly onto my street. The headlights flicked once in code, signal received. I stepped outside, wearing polite indifference like armor, and found Karen standing under the warm glow of her porch light, hands on hips. She had sensed movement, like some HOA guard dog tuned to minor suburban disturbances. "What is that doing here?" she snapped, pointing at the tow truck as if it were graffiti suddenly coming to life. "It's here for the car blocking my driveway," I said. "You might want to move it before it gets a free ride," she sputtered. "You can't do that. HOA laws supersede nuisance towing." "Actually," came Jake's voice, calm and professional, from under his cap. "Or county law supersedes your bylaws, ma'am." Karen's jaw twitched like a shorting wire. Jake handed her a printed citation reference on a clipboard. "You've got 60 seconds before we begin the hook process." She stormed to her door, yelling something about calling the sheriff, which honestly helped us. The sheriff's on-call deputy was already a friend of Jake's from high school. By the time she fumbled her phone back out, the Tesla's rear wheels were off the ground, gleaming helplessly under the tow lights. "You're going to regret this," she screamed. "Maybe. But it wasn't today." Because this was just the first move. When the deputy arrived, the scene looked like a small-town festival. Porch lights glowing, neighbors peeking through blinds, smartphones recording for neighborhood group chats. The deputy took one look, listened to both sides, and calmly said, "Ma'am, blocking a private driveway is a civil infraction. You'll need to pay the tow and storage fees." Karen's face turned the color of overripe cranberries. She attempted logic, somersaults so wild even the deputy blinked. Something about presidential exemption, community duty, and hostile neighbor behavior. It all ended with her Tesla being towed off into the night while she stood filming herself in outrage for her Facebook page. I didn't say a word. Just waved as Jake pulled away. Inside, I poured myself a victory coffee. But before I could sit, an email pinged on my phone. Subject line, HOA violation. Notice, unauthorized property intervention from Karen, HOA president. The first sentence, you have violated Section 9 subpoint B of the HOA bylaws regarding neighborhood harmony and unauthorized enforcement actions. Oh no, she was escalating. I smiled again, this time with curiosity, because Karen had just declared war on the wrong guy. By sunrise, Karen's Tesla was out of impound custody, but the neighborhood peace, long gone. My inbox was full of HOA drama. Word travels fast when the president gets her electric chariot hauled like a pickup from the 90s. At exactly 8:03 a.m., an emergency HOA meeting invitation hit my inbox. Subject line in all caps, like a distress signal. Community. Urgent. Addressing neighborhood conflicts and disruptive behavior. Translation. Karen's bruised ego needs public validation. I poured coffee, hit reply all, and attached 4 of my driveway photos, timestamps, GPS location data, and a short clip from my security camera showing her car over my boundary line. Beneath the attachments, I simply typed, "Happy to discuss after she apologizes for trespassing." Then I hit send. By evening, whispers spread like wildfire through the cul-de-sac. Some folks supported law and order. Others muttered about taking things too far. I didn't care which camp they chose because my camera feed told a bigger story. Karen had been subtly crossing property lines for weeks. Her sprinklers sprayed into my flower bed. Her landscaper had dug 6 inches past the marker stake 2 months ago, and now she'd begun using the HOA mailing list to circulate her own interpretation of the bylaws. Conveniently edited PDFs with her name inserted under interim authority clause. It wasn't about Tesla anymore. It was about power. That night, my brother Jake swung by with a USB stick and a smirk. "Got something for you." "What is it?" "Footage from my dash cam when we towed her car. Audio, too." I plugged it in, expecting a replay of her shrieking. But what I heard instead was gold. Karen on a phone call, venting mid-tow. This whole neighborhood doesn't respect leadership. Maybe it's time to find some people into compliance, starting with that smug guy next door. What's his name, Chris? He'll learn what power looks like. I paused, rewound, and played it again, grinning wider. "Jake," I said slowly, "you may have just handed me evidence of HOA abuse of authority." He laughed. "Careful, counselor. You sound like a man planning revenge." "Oh, no," I said. "I'm planning justice." The next morning, I downloaded the official HOA bylaws PDF from the county archives. The real one, not Karen's community-edited version. I cross-referenced every section she'd quoted in her emails. And guess what? There was no clause granting any temporary presidential exemption or parking authority privilege. In fact, Section 6B explicitly forbade obstructing ingress or egress from any homeowner's private property. She had literally broken a rule she was pretending to enforce, compiled a tight timeline file of evidence, timestamped photos proving her Tesla crossed my boundary, video from my driveway cam and Jake's dash cam capturing her rant, her bogus violation email, and printed HOA meeting notes showing where she'd quietly edited the rules. By the end, it looked less like neighborhood paperwork and more like a ready-made prosecution file. I labeled the folder Operation Curbside Justice, but evidence alone wasn't exciting enough. I needed witnesses, allies, people who'd been quietly steamrolled by the HOA machine, so I paid a visit to the O'Connors 3 doors down. They'd once gotten a citation for having, brace yourself, a slightly non-compliant wreath color. They still spoke about that fine like veterans of a decorative war. And when I showed them the footage of Karen admitting power abuse, Mrs. O'Connor whispered, "Finally?" Finally, someone caught her on record. They handed over their own letter, an official complaint they'd sent 2 months earlier about Karen falsifying HOA votes. The board had ignored it, of course, but with my recordings, suddenly everything connected. Within 3 days, I'd assembled a coalition of outraged neighbors, each armed with screenshots, emails, or photos of Karen bending the rules. We called ourselves, half-jokingly, the Driveway Defense League. The plan wasn't just exposure. It was precision accountability. We'd gather all the proof, contact an HOA regulatory attorney, and confront Karen not with yelling, but with documents. We'd audit the auditor, so I booked a consultation with attorney Dana Coles, a soft-spoken lawyer who specialized in HOA and property rights disputes. She listened to my story, browsed my evidence folder, and smiled the slow smile of someone who'd found a perfect puzzle piece. "This is solid," she said. "She's committing procedural overreach. You're not just in the right. She's potentially in violation of fiduciary duty to the association, which means..." "And it means," Dana said, "if you file this through the county mediator, her presidency is frozen pending review. And if she retaliates in any way, say, frivolous violations, intimidation, or defamatory emails, you can trigger immediate removal." "Immediate removal," I repeated, letting those words linger like music. Exactly. "But you didn't hear this from me. Install a fresh camera angle on that driveway, just in case she tries something again." I nodded. "Already ahead of you, because truthfully my existing setup was already robust. A discrete Wi-Fi-enabled camera peeked from my porch light fixture, another from the garage sensor, both motion-triggered and cloud-backed. I even slipped a small Apple AirTag behind a decorative stone near the corner where Karen loved to position her trash bins for curb appeal. If she crossed my property line again, I'd know in seconds. 2 nights later, just as predicted, the motion alert pinged at 2:14 a.m. Camera footage showed Karen tiptoeing between driveways in a floral robe. Flashlight in one hand, clipboard in the other. She stopped at my trash bin, scribbled something, then, without realizing, walked right over the AirTag zone. My phone pulsed. Object moving detected. Got her. The next morning, she sent a brand new HOA fine notice. Violation. Garbage bin left out prematurely. $75 are due, except the footage showed her moving it. Checkmate. I drafted a reply. Short, sharp, and soaked in calm professionalism. "Hi, Karen. You appear to have confused your own actions with mine. Please see attached time-stamped video confirming who moved the bin. I am forwarding this to Attorney Coles, along with your prior notices for pattern tracking. Sincerely, Chris." Minutes later, my phone rang. Not from her. From a hidden number that turned out to be another HOA board member whispering like a spy. "Hey, listen, Karen's freaking out. She says you're stalking her." "Funny," I said. "My doorbell cam says otherwise," he sighed. "We're calling an open HOA meeting this weekend. Might be explosive," I smiled. "Wouldn't miss it." Because the storm she created? She was about to find out what happens when you try to tow someone's dignity off its rightful parking spot. Saturday evening arrived with the energy of a courtroom thriller disguised as a barbecue night. Folding chairs were lined in a neat semicircle under the community gazebo, each one labeled member, guest, or board. You could practically smell the tension wafting between the citronella candles and neatly trimmed hedges. Karen was already there, standing beside a small podium adorned with an HOA logo that suspiciously looked like it had been printed at Staples this morning. She dressed like she was about to give a TED Talk on tyranny, navy blazer, crisp blouse, pearl earrings gleaming like tiny declarations of superiority. As I approached with my folder, neatly tabbed, evidence ready, she gave me that same saccharine smile that usually preceded psychological warfare. "Chris," she said sweetly, "I hope tonight we can put our unfortunate misunderstanding behind us." "Of course," I replied. "Just as soon as the truth catches up." You could feel the spark plug of drama ignite right there in front of the gazebo lights. The meeting began with the usual roll call and an uneasy shuffle of papers. Karen, assuming her President of Serenity Estates HOA persona, started reading from her pre-written statement. "We are here tonight," she said, "to address a pattern of hostility undermining our community harmony. Certain homeowners," she glanced directly at me, "have engaged in behavior unbecoming of our shared values." Her voice trembled just enough to sound victimized. The performance was Oscar-worthy, a one-woman tragedy about suffering through consequences. Then, mid-speech, I raised my hand. "Madam President," I began, injecting just the right amount of irony into the title. "Before this goes further, I'd like to submit new evidence for record review." The neighbors stirred. A few phones lifted, ready to record. The HHOA secretary, a mild retiree named Gordon, looked both terrified and relieved. Go ahead, Mr. Daniels. I walked to the head table and plugged a small USB into the projector. The screen flickered, then displayed two videos side by side, left side. Karen's Tesla, unmistakably blocking my driveway. Right side, dashcam audio, her voice declaring she'd find people into compliance. A hush swept through the gazebo like the silence between thunder and lightning. Her smile stiffened. This is a massive invasion of privacy. Public street-facing footage, I interrupted. Recorded lawfully from my property and submitted with the advice of counsel. I turned to the board. I think our neighbors deserve to know whether their so-called president is using her position to intimidate and falsify citations. Someone in the crowd clapped under their breath. Then a second. Then suddenly, full applause broke like a slow wave rolling across the seats. Karen's face was crimson. This is character assassination. Actually, came a calm voice from the back. It's accountability. From the last row stepped attorney Dana Coles, who had decided to attend as a certified mediator observer. Her credentials gleamed under the light as she slipped a document packet onto the board's table. According to county HOA compliance guidelines, she said. Ms. Walker, Karen's last name, has issued disciplinary warnings outside procedural authority. Furthermore, her modified bylaws are not filed, notarized, or approved, thus invalid. I have submitted a formal complaint to the County Association Registry this morning. Karen swayed like someone whose internal Wi-Fi just disconnected. You're not even part of this neighborhood, Dana smiled. No, but Mr. Daniels retained me as counsel, and the rules of fiduciary oversight make your position immediately reviewable. The board murmured nervously. Karen looked around for support and found none. Even her closest ally, Gordon, was whispering apologies under his breath. And then came the twist, the backfire she never saw coming. The deputy from that first night walked in halfway through the commotion. Full uniform, calm expression, clipboard in hand. He spoke like someone announcing weather patterns. Ma'am, we've received a report regarding unauthorized HOA fund usage. Records show several personal transactions. Gasoline charges, printer purchases, one entry labeled Tesla detailing invoice, all billed to the community account. The collective gasp could have powered a city block. Karen's knees bent slightly. That's a clerical misunderstanding. The deputy nodded politely but continued. Be that as it may, county auditors have requested a temporary freeze of HOA access until further notice. Translation, she was done. From there, the meltdown unspooled in glorious 4K reality. Karen grabbed her color-coded binder, muttering something about witch hunts and conspiracies, fled toward her Tesla, and discovered a small yellow boot had been placed on the rear wheel by order of the auditing office. It was almost poetic. The car that once imprisoned my driveway, now captured by its own arrogance. The crowd didn't cheer. They just exhaled, like an entire street releasing months of suppressed frustration. Weeks later, a letter arrived in the mail. The HOA board, after emergency re-election, had voted to remove Karen permanently and appointed Gordon, of Accidental Courage fame, as interim president. They attached an apology note and refunded my $75 garbage violation fine, plus a $100 good neighbor credit, as if goodwill came with a rebate coupon. My driveway remained clear. My roses thrived, and for the first time in months. The neighborhood chat group was about recipes instead of rage. I sent Jake a photo of the calm morning sky and one clean, unobstructed driveway. He replied, "Guess justice runs in the family." I smiled, the kind of smile you earn, not borrow, and turned my phone toward the rising sun reflecting off the asphalt. Sometimes justice doesn't roar in courtrooms or dramatic speeches. Sometimes it hums quietly under the soft whir of a tow truck, pulling arrogance out of your way. When someone uses authority as a shield for bad behavior, remind them that laws and decency outrank titles and temper. Protect your property rights, document everything, and never underestimate the quiet power of patience paired with evidence. Because the real satisfaction isn't revenge. It's regaining peace on your own terms.